How's everybody doing? Hope y'all are doing great. Michigan State. Who would have thought it? Michigan State has the ability to control its own destiny in the Big Ten. If they win out, so they think they have two more games, they win two or three of their last games, they win a Big Ten title outright. Now, this is an interesting team. This is a team that not many people projected to be very good, maybe an 8 or a 9 seed. But now, if the season ended today, they'd be a 2. And maybe they can even work up to a 1 if they clinch the Big Ten Conference Championship and like the actual tournament championship. And this is, I think someone said it was Tom Izzo's best coaching job ever. This is certainly a classic team effort from Tom Izzo and the boys in East Lansing. If you're a Michigan State fan, go ahead and send over a comment. We'd love to start a dialogue with y'all. But here is my take on why Michigan State is in the position that they're in. This is kind of the story of their season so far, in my opinion. So these are the things that aren't so great about Michigan State. And despite all these things, they've overcome, and they are in first place in a power conference and are going to be a 2-3 seed for the latest in the NCAA tournament. First off, no one plays above 26 minutes. So if nobody's playing above 26 minutes, we can infer there's not a textbook quote-unquote star like some teams have with, Bennett Sturts the other day playing 39 minutes a game, right? There's no one who's out there for a huge period of time. Like I said, not all of these are bad, but if you just read this blind resume, you'd think that this team probably wasn't in the NCAA tournament, let alone a 2 seed. Another thing that can be good, but people would kind of scoff at, is that the bench is greater than the starters. I'll explain why this is a good thing in a little bit, but just looking at it on the surface, like the bench players being better than the starters, like what's going on where the guys on the bench are better than the guys starting the game? That's very rare. Likewise, they are 347th from three-point range in the NCAA. That's out of all 364 or 68 teams. They're 347th, shooting 29%, which is pretty bad. Even some really bad college basketball teams are shooting much better than that from 3. So they can't really shoot. Their bench is better, and nobody's playing a bunch of minutes. Similarly, they only have 2 guys in double figures. That's Jace Richardson and Jaden Akins, who we'll talk about a little bit. But they don't really score the ball all that much. I mean, Auburn has 7 guys in double figures, averaging double figures, and Michigan State only has 2. And those double figures aren't really high either. I think Akins is averaging 12.5, and Richardson's averaging 11.5, maybe. And then finally, they have no notable big men. I'm not saying these big men are bad. I'm just saying that there are some holes. They're not. I would wager that none of these big men are going to be an all conference players. They play Simone Zapala. They start him. He's a transfer from Longwood. He's averaging like 3 or 4 points a game. Carson Cooper, big man, only averaging a handful of points. And then Jackson Kohler, who's probably the best out of the 3. And then Xavier Booker, who a former 5-star who just really hasn't had a good season. So knowing all this, why is Michigan State really good? Well, obviously they have a great head coach in Tom Izzo. That's obvious. Legend of the game. This is a great job by him. But here are the reasons that I've come up with. This is from watching them and looking into the team more, reading articles about them. They're 7th in the nation in free throw percentage. I feel as if this is a really underestimated stat. Like, teams that can get to the line and knock down free throws are very valuable. because that's just those are just free points, and 80% is a very respectable, dare I say, very, very good percentage to shoot from the line. Whole team shooting 80%, that's great. Depth. When I said the bench was better than the starters, I meant that, and I didn't mean it in a total bad way. When you have the depth that Michigan State has, they play 10 guys, and honestly, they have 11 that can really go with Kurt Tang. That depth is really good because with the hard defense, hard-nosed style they play, you know, they're not afraid to sub people out, get fresh legs, and if somebody's kind of in a slump, they're able to just ride the hot hand. Obviously, defensively, I just mentioned they're 6th in KenPom. Really good. They play really hard defense. That's why they're holding their opponents to so few points. But these are the 3 that I've kind of come up with really from watching them, right? They're clutch and they're together. I'll show you in a second the Trey Holloman shot that he hit the other day against Maryland. They also just play together. And that is a symptom of the continuity and loyalty that is in this Michigan State program. So common nowadays to see teams that have a lineup all of transfers or a team all of transfers that they don't really know each other that well. And many guys, I'm not saying all transfers are like this, but many people who transfer, they are willing to leave at a drop of a hat. Many of these guys have sat behind other guys, haven't been full-time starters since day one. But what I notice is these guys are, very pumped for each other on the bench. They don't mind if they're starting or coming off the bench. They're just really happy to, be a part of a team and support their fellow brothers on the court. And I think that's huge. Likewise, they didn't bring in, I think they brought in 2 transfers, neither of whom play a big role on the team. So the other 10 guys or so, they've played together before. They know each other. They've been with each other for years. And you can't underestimate that continuity a lot of times in this fickle, ephemeral nature that is college basketball in the year 2025. And then the final reason is one of my favorite players to watch, Jace Richardson. I wish he would have been a Bearcat, but alas, he went to Michigan State. And let me tell you, he's playing more like a 5-star than a 4-star. I think he was a little bit, actually scratch that, a lot underrated coming into college. And it took him a little while to get going. Maybe it's the Izzo thing where he doesn't like playing freshmen. I don't know that for a fact. But when I think of the Izzo teams, I think of Draymond, who is an upperclassman. I think of Cassius Winston, who is an upperclassman. I just think of a lot of juniors and seniors, really. I don't think of a lot of one-and-done type individuals. And Jace is a freshman. Yes, he comes off the bench, yes. But he has no freshman ego about him. He just goes about his business, has a great attitude. And he has started to take over games in the Big Ten. I would wager that he is – I know Derek Queen is very good. I'm sure there's some other freshmen that I'm missing, but I think he's the best freshman in the Big Ten, if not the best freshman maybe in the country, besides Cooper Flagg. He's ridiculous. I might even take him over Dylan Harper, to be honest. I mean, the stuff that he's done in these games, they've won 5 of their last 6 games against some really tough opponents like Purdue, Michigan, Maryland, Oregon. And he's 5 straight times been in double figures off the bench. So Jace Richardson, like his father, is an absolute bucket. He's a lefty who just has an absolute bag. Like, the stuff that he uses getting to the rim is insane. Really love his game, can shoot the ball a little bit. He's going to be a really good pro, either next year or someday down the line. he took over that Michigan game. He looked like the best player on the court in both the Michigan game, where he had 21, and Maryland, where I think he had 15 or 16 points. Best player on the court. And when you have the best player on the court, your odds of winning go up, I would say. That's it. The highlight of the season, obviously, if I had to put it into a picture frame, it was this win against Maryland right here. Just a hard-fought game against a really good Maryland team where they just scratched and clawed for a little bit, and then a program guy, a captain of the team, Trey Holloman, who really hasn't gotten much recognition this year. He only averages single-digit points. Came in after having a bunch of good games down the stretch himself, gets an outlet pass, and hits a tough half-court shot to win the game. And like Tom Izzo said, they deserve it, and they deserve all the success they've been getting. Congratulations, Michigan State, on a great season so far. Hope y'all finish it out in the Big Ten.